2023 Auburn University Marching Band. For your halftime entertainment, we celebrate the 43-year reign of the speed metal kings, Metallica. With 9 Grammy Awards and 14 nominations, 38 concert tours worldwide, and 11 studio albums that span 4 decades, the Titans of Thrash remain the standard by which all other metal is measured. We begin with a 1984 classic from their second album, For Whom the Bell Tolls, followed by the 1992 tour anthem, Wherever I May Roam. And then, let's turn down the house and light up the stage with the Auburn University Marching Band and their show, Metallica.
Post-game reaction time for Auburn versus Arizona. We have a lot to talk about here. Wasn't a fun one to talk about, though, or won't be a fun one to talk about. The score, the stats, the storylines, all that coming up right now. War Eagle, everybody, welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together, we sit down, we discuss, we share in the Auburn experience, all about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, and Auburn family stuff. An easier way to say it, though, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. So thank you so much for joining us and what we're going to be doing on this late night post-game reaction show for Auburn men's basketball season in their post-game discussions of Auburn versus Arizona. The final score, 97-68. The Auburn Tigers have gotten their butts whooped by the Arizona Wildcats. And likely what will be, as the broadcasters told you 1,000 times tonight on the broadcast, the number one team based off the results of the rest of the college basketball world today. And they played like it and showed Auburn why they are probably the number one team. We're going to go through obviously the score, what got us there, the stats, individual team stats, storylines amongst all that. I know this isn't one of those times where y'all want to spend a humongous amount of time on this game, but we're going to do our justice here and make sure we analyze this to the best of our ability and just give some initial reactions to all this. For those of you that are watching live, especially, we'd love for you to start off by smashing the like button, hitting the share button wherever you're watching. You can do that on some of the social media platforms as well. That's a huge help to us. Let us know that you're here. You can do that on the replay as well. But we'd love for the live people to let us know that you're here with the War Eagle. And you can certainly offer some opinions and takes that you'd like to share, things that you'd like us to dive into a little bit of detail on in the game this evening. And we appreciate you all joining, whether you were live or on the replay. It's very much appreciated. So I always start the show with player of the game. No one wants to give them at least on the Auburn side. If you'd like to give a player of the game to the Arizona side as an Auburn audience, you're more than willing to do that. You have several candidates for that, and I do mean several. You have probably one best option for that with the scoring that he did for Auburn, but certainly that's where a lot of our focus will start off with in the individual part of this game. But if you have a player of the game, drop that in there, or something that you want to talk about with a particular player, good or bad. Hopefully you'll pepper in some of the good with a lot of the bad that is in this game. We're going to try to make sense of it, though, here tonight. There's a lot of excitement and hype around this game. First time ever for Auburn in the McHale Center, and this was a very hyped up, very much looking forward to matchup, home and home, them coming to Auburn next year. So we'll look to return the favor, hopefully next year. They won't be as potent, maybe, or looking to be the number one team overall. Obviously, a lot of the conversations that are coming into the chat right now around this, our schedule is so wild. Yeah, folks, we're focused on this game at this moment, but I think you're finally getting a full picture of what Auburn is up against, and that's not to make excuses for games like this and plays like this and stats that we're going to discuss, which frankly probably could have been a lot worse in some of the categories that I'm looking at right now. But Auburn ran into a buzzsaw. Once again, this is the second time this season that Auburn has run into a buzzsaw and not been able to really make any opportunities last long for themselves. Now, they did have a nice little run to end the first half to really cut that deficit that had already gotten up to 20 points down to about 12, I think is what it was, 32-40. Yeah, 32-44. So you'd hope that the Auburn Tigers would come out with a little bit more of a I don't know, something. But they were just outmanned and outmatched and all kinds of different ways. I see a lot of comments about, Auburn really needs a big man, things like that. And again, I just continue to stress this for those of you that are outside looking in. You don't necessarily have to have what people consider a true big man to be successful. There are plenty of examples of Auburn teams, but basketball teams going without the either what people consider the true big man or multiple true big men. It's all about how you compete with what you have, not so much that you have to have these archetypes to be successful. And I hope Auburn fans will start to realize that. But certainly when you look at some of the size that they had, that's an area and a point of emphasis for them to exploit. Auburn tonight, which is kind of shocking looking at some of the team stats over to the side here, that they weren't as worse as they could be. Okay. Obviously not a lot of fun to give out individual, accolades tonight to anybody, but we got to start off at the top. Tahad Pettiford, somebody reminded him that he's on the road again, and so he decided that he was going to pop off for some points. This is just wild. I know that we're kind of down in the dumps about the results about this, but can we just now start to point out this even more so? Usually when we're gonna, I get diatribes on Facebook. We kind of, we move on from those. There's no need to write that much. Sorry, Adam, but that's just ridiculous. Love you, man, but you don't need to write a diatribe for a live stream like this. That was wild to look at and see that pop up on the live chat. All right, moving on from that. Tahad Pettiford. Wow. It's becoming a just weird thing, man. It's not even a weird thing. It's a thing. When he's at home, he's quiet to average in his typical what we expect out of him. He goes on the road against the best teams, and he's just outstanding in terms of just numbers, things like that. Tonight, 30 points, 10 for 19, 5 for 9 from the 3-point arc. Free throws, he's 5 for 5, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 personal fouls, 2 turnovers in 34 minutes of play. He's the second most minutes tonight. Man, just outstanding. Outstanding. Yeah, I mean, there's no other option other than Keyshawn Hall in terms of scoring. Now we'll look at the full stat lines of everybody to see if that compares, but really you're going to not have a lot of opportunities to give out something that would be a player of the game tonight with the performances overall. They just put up the Auburn basketball post on X for the score, and all it says is final lowercase. I love that. Having gotten to know the Auburn basketball media main guy from afar, I never met him in person, but interacting with a little bit. I love his humor sometimes, even in the defeats like this. All right, so let's keep moving forward here. Tahad Pettiford, 30 points tonight. Certainly he's your best statistical guy so far tonight. Keyshawn Hall, as we've talked about throughout the season, they're going to be 1 and 2 typically, and shouldn't be surprising. 13 points for him tonight. Really not a typical night, though, for Keyshawn Hall. 3 for 11, 1 for 4 from the 3-point arc. He makes all his free throws. That's not a shock, and he got a lot of those later on in the game. Rebounds 4, 3 personal fouls, 3 turnovers. So really just kind of an average game for Keyshawn Hall of what we've come into expect out of him. He's still making his free throws, though. Still making his free throws. And that's something that certainly can help. And we'll get to the team stats here in a little bit. Okay, let's work through the rest of it here. That's your only 2 in double digits tonight. Your best options for players of the game. You got Kevin Overton with 8 tonight. He got off to a little bit of a hot start and then cooled off, but he's 6 for 6 from the line. Gotta love that. Guys with experience leading in that manner. Keyshawn Murphy tonight's 4 for 8 from the field with 8 points, 8 rebounds. So he's 2 points and 2 rebounds shy of a double-double. You've got Elijah Freeman with 3, Sebastian Williams-Adams with 3, who also, by the way, I don't know if y'all caught that, Sebastian Williams-Adams, I believe, was the victim of their version of the gooey fries deal. If somebody misses 2 free throws in the same sequence in the second half, I think, you get some free meal thing. So that was unfortunate to have that thrown back our way this time. And then finally, Kaden Mag with the 2 points, Philip Jovic with 1 point off of a free throw. And yeah, that's your stats tonight. Only 2 in double digits. You only play 8 guys tonight. I believe Abdul had something going on health-wise, if I'm not mistaken. He didn't play Simon Walker or Meko Oporum. So not a lot of numbers utilized tonight. But frankly, you were down so quickly, you got to leave your main guys in there trying to figure out if you can make a run back at this thing before you can work some of your depth back into the space there to hopefully get some more fresher legs underneath that. So individually tonight, it's nothing really to write home about outside of Tahad Pettiford is outstanding on the road. Once again, we'll just see if he realizes he is it'll just be funny to see if this trend continues. Now, it is going to be on the road the next game in Chattanooga, in Atlanta to play Chattanooga. Will that be a factor since it's technically a neutral site game? It is an away game, and it's kind of a home game for Auburn being so close to Auburn. I don't know, but Tahad Pettiford, the trend continues, which is just wild to look at and see. Okay, so individual stats there. I know a lot of you said, you think he needs to lock back in, things like that. I'm not going to fault the kid for one bad game. He's come on strong after a slow start to the season, but certainly not some great. You can talk about air balls. There were airball 3-pointers tonight. I mean, it just looked like the team was out of sorts. Individually, the team was out of sorts. People were just the thing that frustrated me the most, and I forget who it was we were down the corner in there. The game was already well in hand. 2 minutes left, I think. We're trapped in the corner. We just throw it out towards their end of the court to no man's land where one of our guys can't get in. Of course, they pick it up, run it in, and dunk it. It's, they go wild. Just Auburn looked out of sorts tonight, and that's unfortunate for their first ever trip to the McHale Center. All right, so that's individual stats. If there's anything individually you want to bring up that we haven't talked about yet, drop it in there. I'm not imagining there's much more you want to dive into there. Scoring for each half, 32-44 at the half, 12-point deficit for Auburn. And then 36-53, pretty comparable, resulting in your 68-97 win for Arizona over Auburn, a 29-point win for them. Tough look for them tonight in the scoring category. So on. All right, let's do it. Team stats. Where we're looking. This is usually going to tell us what happened and why it happened. And I already think I see the stat of the game. First, we're going to look at the big three. We're going to try to find the stat of the game, the one that tells why all of this happened the best. And then we'll go through anything else that we need to here. Let's start with the big three. Let's say it together. Turnovers, free throws, rebounds. We'll start with free throws. 80% for Auburn, 75% for Arizona. So decent for both teams. Auburn does get to the mark that I want them to get to at 80%. You got to do that on the road. They're 20 of 25. So they checked that box. Obviously, it didn't help all that much, but certainly you can't fault them in their free throw shooting tonight for the reason that they lost. Now let's look at the turnovers because that's going to be number 2 in the big three. 15-13. I forget what it was last game, but they had like 11 or 12 in the first half, and that kind of continued in this game. Not as bad throughout the whole game, but 15 overall. That's awful. Turnovers of that amount on the road against this type of team is going to kill you. And it doesn't really matter that they also had 13 of their own, even in their home court. Frankly, I would be interested to see where those 13 came from, or the bulk of that 13. I wonder if they happened in the second half, mostly when they're probably being a little bit more lackadaisical because they had gotten out to such a big lead. Tough. You can't have that many turnovers, even if there's not really that big of a differential. Defensive, so we'll just do total rebounds. 34-40. I thought that this would be a lot bigger of a deficit. Now, the biggest differential there comes in defensive rebounds, 18-29 for Arizona winning that one. But Auburn won offensive rebounds. They had a great point on the broadcast. They said that reason that Auburn's doing so well in their offensive reboundings, and the reason it looks so good is because they're making most of their, actually, I'm butchering it. So anyway, I'll move on from the point. I had it in my head and it went away. It's late, y'all. Anyway, it's just weird seeing that. Auburn does lose that one by just a few, but they would lose 2 out of the 3 categories, and that's not going to help you on the road. But even all of that's gone on in the Big Three, none of this looks horrendous to the level of a 29-point deficit. So where is the big stat that we need to look at tonight? I think you're going to find it right at the top here on the system that I'm looking at. Field goal percentage, 33% for Auburn, 61% for Arizona. 61%. 41 of 67 shots. If the team that you are playing is making 61% of their shots and doesn't end up winning the game, I don't care where they are or where you're playing, then they're just not that good of a team. Even with that 60%. You can't miss. So Arizona didn't miss, so it was hard to get the offensive rebounds. That was my point. Thank you. It was in my mind, and it just didn't come out. Like, I couldn't put it together at that moment because it's well past midnight when we're doing this. But thank you, Fielder's Choice, for helping a brother out. You saw me struggling over here and saved me. That means a lot. All right. So 61%. That's it. We're going to probably find something else in the team stats that's going to make me question probably as we go along, but I just feel pretty confident that that's your stat of the game right there. 61% for Arizona. 3-point percentage, 24% for Auburn, not great at all. 40% for Arizona, pretty good. So that's another thing that's just making that even worse. Points off of turnovers, 12-21 in Arizona's favor. Second chance points, Auburn actually wins that 13-12. Kind of goes back to that offensive rebounding thing. Even though they won it, it really didn't help them all that much because of those reasons. Bench points tonight, 27 for Arizona. So their starters, they had one guy in double digits on their bench. On our bench, we had everybody scored tonight. So everybody scored, just not a lot. 6 points from the bench tonight. Not a lot of contributing factors there. Not a lot of contributing factors outside of Keyshawn Hall, Tahad Pettiford either. So not a great stat line there. That one's a pretty dang. Oh, wow. Okay. This is why you watch the show live, so you can watch my reaction live. I swear I thought for sure that field goal percentage was going to be the thing that tells you why we lost. I was wrong. Points in the paint, 24 for Auburn, 60 for Arizona. If Arizona has half of that and they still win the category, this is a different ball game. I mean, that's why and that explains why their field goal percentage is so strong. They were making everything and that kind of reinforces the point about the offensive rebounds, opportunity, all that kind of stuff. Listen, that's you can't beat teams that are doing that, and it's also Arizona doing what they need to do, but also Auburn, not managing that well as well. I mean, they're a great basketball team. Probably they're going to be the number 1 team in the rankings at the end of the day. But wow, I don't know that we've seen a differential that big in quite some time. 24-60, almost 40. That is wow. Okay. Fast break points, 13-19. Arizona wins that one. Auburn wins in blocks, tied in steals. Another big differential in assists, 7-23 for Arizona. And then, it was all in their favor. Auburn only led 2 minutes of the game. Yeah, so there it is. Wow, I am really taken aback by what we just saw there. And that differential's got me really thrown off tonight, and I'm trying to make sense of all of this right now. All right, so here's what I want to do. If there's any other commentary that we haven't really talked about yet, I'll go back and take a look at some of that. We'll kind of use that to round out our talk tonight. But that's the team and individual stats right there. Let me give you reminders for upcoming live streams here at E2C Network, the Auburn Experience. Speaking of the Auburn Experience, the main podcast is tomorrow night, 9 Eastern time here on YouTube. Make sure you join us there. We'd love to have you be a part of it. It's going to be a great opportunity for you to hang out with me in Austin. We've got some cool topics today. We'll catch up on basketball week that it was, signing day, Auburn potpourri, all the kind of different things that you want to be catching up on in the Auburn Experience, Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. Do not miss out on your opportunity to be part of the flagship show of everything we do here at E2C Network tomorrow night at 9. We will have an Auburn family night finally again. That doesn't seem like there's going to be any conflicts with basketball or anything else, so join us. That date is wrong, so I just realized that, but we'll have the Auburn family night Wednesday night, 9 Eastern time as well. And we'll also have Saturday another post-game show. That will be the only basketball game this week that I'm aware of, unless I looked at our calendars wrong. And if you want to support us anyway, contact us, anything like that. One of the things you can do is shop with Alumni Hall, or just if you need ways to contact us, I'm putting that in the link in the chat right now. This is our link tree. You can get all the links to social media, shop with Alumni Hall, some of our other affiliates. If you support them, you support our content. So please do that if you can. Okay. Now, we'll kind of go through some final points here that I want to make. Some of maybe your commentary that you may or may not have, and see what you guys want to say here. WT says the fact the team never quit, never hung their head speaks volumes to the character of the team and Pearl's coaching. One of the things that I haven't touched on yet, and I'll be honest, I missed the discussion about this other than listening in on it and coming in back into the room. The disagreement that happened between Tahad and between Keyshawn Hall, the two stars of the team, that's a little bit interesting, but it seemed like that got figured out. We'll see if there's any discussions of that from post game. I would say the team didn't seem to quit. They kept trying. They seemed to be over trying at times. They just looked a little bit outmatched by Arizona tonight. Very similar to Michigan, although I would say Michigan probably put it to us a little bit more than Arizona did. But there's that. So let me, before I take maybe some comments and other questions from you guys, I want to say this about current state of the team. We still got some games left in non-conference and a whole season of SEC basketball to go, folks. This is just the beginning. So this is, and most of you are, well-rounded enough. You're not going to let this be, something that ruins your evening, things like that. I'm trying to find a place here where we can assess where this team is at. So now what's happened is you have Auburn gotten blown out by what will be the number one team tomorrow, whenever the rankings come out. They took Michigan took them to the woodshed as well. And I think, frankly, from what I've seen thus far, they're the better team, the best team in college basketball. They're going to still be 2-1 at the end of this night. Purdue, who was 1, is just lost, is going to be playing Auburn soon. And Auburn took on Houston, who's still really good and was number 1 at the time. And they looked much better against Houston at a more friendly neutral site. So you kind of take all of that together and try to assess where this team is at against the best of the best. And, we won't know until we play Purdue. Hope it's better than this one. But I think this team, with the win at St. John's, things like that, this team is still a very good team. I think even the broadcasters were talking about that tonight. But they're just struggling to find a way to beat some of the upper echelons, which is going to kind of limit the expectations that people should have, as far as, what this team might do based off what we currently know. Maybe it's just top heavy this year in college basketball with teams like Arizona, Michigan, Purdue, and the Houstons, all those type of things. We'll never, we won't know until this whole season is played out. But there's some things to think about. as we start to kind of figure out what this team is going to look like the rest of the year and things like that. I hope you guys are still excited for the rest of it. This is from Unbeaten Lake. He says maybe this wasn't the best season for this kind of schedule. We still have Purdue. Now, listen, yeah, you can say that here in this moment, but nobody knew what all of these teams were going to look like when they made these schedules. You have ideas when you have names like Purdue, you have names like Michigan, Arizona, that they're going to be pretty decent, but I don't think we could have planned that at one point all of these teams were going to be in the top 3 this early in the season. Some number 1, either before, after, or currently when we're playing them. It's a tough schedule. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about that. This is from Fielder's Choice. We knew this team wouldn't peak early, so I'm not going to overreact, but getting beat by 30 twice is not okay. I agree, and I think Coach Pearl would say as much. Losing those games are expected, but getting blasted, not so much. Got to be better. Yeah, I think that's something that's fair to walk away with and say here. Going to Arizona, to the McHale Center for the first time, an uphill climb, you just hope that you can look a lot better. And again, I push back on this narrative that Auburn is not going to be successful because they don't have what people call the prototypical big man. You can counteract that. There are going to be some things where they take advantage of you because you may not have that prototypical big man or the amount of prototypical big men. But they've got to find a way to right the ship because teams like Michigan and Arizona have showed they will exploit it and not be able to. Auburn has not been able to counteract it yet. This is from WT. We're a good team right now. It remains to be seen how good we can become. Certainly the sky is still the limit. So a lot of season left here at this point. But that, my friends, is going to do our show. We've got someone asking about football on a basketball show, Edward. I think you kind of know that's out of place. Oh, the funny things that happen on live streams. Not trying to be rude, man. That's a wild comment in a basketball stream. Anyway, and on an Auburn stream, that much less. All right, let's get out of here. It's been a wild one. It's been a not fun one, and I hope that these will not be as often as they have been in the early part of the non-conference season. Auburn loses to Arizona 97-68. Player of the game, if you have to give it out, is Tahad Pettiford with 30 points. He realized he was on the road. So that's why he was doing so good. And then the stat that we thought wasn't going to be better than the other one, but when you look at it in terms of what told the story of this game, points in the paint, 24-60. Arizona, what a differential. Man, can't overcome that on the road usually, if that's what the home team's going to be doing, especially if they're likely the number 1 team win. Thank you guys so much for participating on the live portion. Those of you that check out the replay, audio or visual, we appreciate that very much, and you all spending some time with us. Until we get back together with you, I want to remind you that the Auburn Creed asks you to do these things: to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. We ask you to do the same.